Apologies if I sound a little off, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but the show must go on. Or I guess technically the show must wrap up, because this is the wrap-up. I like this musical quite a bit. Its cast consists of people who have done things with Star Kid before, although, if you don't count Harry Potter Senior Year, and I kind of don't, we haven't seen Joey since Starship, and we hadn't seen Corey since Harry Potter sequel, so it was nice to see those two come back. Of course, everyone does a good job, and I do want to give a special shout out to Rachel for playing such a vastly different character from her previous character of Princess and Twisted. This musical did a very good job of showing off her range. The music is a really solid addition to the Star Kid repertoire. It's the first time that Jeff Blim wrote music for Star Kid, and for the most part, it is all really good. He did write a couple songs just to sing about dysentery and pooping, but he also gave us Wagon on Fire, which I think remains one of the best villain/Act 1 end songs that Star Kid has ever written. So a bit of a mixed bag, but still a strong entrance to the Jeff Blim-Lang brothers partnership. Something I learned about myself when I first watched this show all those years ago is that I enjoy a show with a smaller cast. I feel that a smaller cast makes it easier for us to get to know everybody. Trail to Oregon is really an ensemble piece, and having that smaller cast makes it easier for us to get to know everyone. Not just the main family, though they are obviously the main focus, but also our primary antagonists, McDoon and Cletus Jones. Even some of the minor characters that Joey plays, because he plays everyone, has a certain degree of depth to them, like the general store guy or the horny ox. A smaller cast lends itself to that really well, which I appreciate. And of course it is nice to follow this family. They all have a certain degree of dysfunction to them, especially between Jack Bauer and Slippery When Wet, but they're all likable and fleshed out enough that you want them to succeed, both in getting to Oregon and in staying together. Finally, this show is just really funny. There are two kinds of humor that I really like that Star Kid is really good at. The first is meta humor, which this show is kind of built on. After all, the audience literally names the characters. In terms of other interaction with the audience, there aren't too many outside of that first scene. There are some small moments, like when Slippery When Wet admonishes the audience if they choose Craphole or Mouthface to die, and of course when Jack Bauer ingests snake venom and sees the audience on his acid trip. And maybe we're a Lord in Black, but again, just the normal amount of thinking about it. The band is also on stage the entire time, and while they're not as much of a character as they are in Annie, there are some interactions between the band and the cast members, like when Jack Bauer tries to get the band to help him woo Slippery When Wet. And finally, in terms of meta humor, there's the myriad of references to the original game that this musical is based on. The second kind of humor at which Star Kid excels is taking something completely ridiculous and treating it as the most serious thing in the world. Star Kid is real good at that, and I'm confident in saying that Trail to Oregon is the epitome of that. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the scene with Cornwallis. For those who don't know, Cornwallis is a giant lobster from Titty Mitty's past, which means during the scene, one of the actors is dressed up like a giant lobster. The fact that you're able to have two actors on stage, one of them dressed as a giant lobster and the other named Titty Mitty, act out this scene as if they're in the most serious drama of all time, is extraordinarily impressive, although it is Joey Richter and Corey Doris, so I suppose not all that surprising. Speaking of Titty Mitty, that's another factor of that ridiculousness. Those names. Obviously, those of us who couldn't see them in person only know the names of the YouTube version, but those are Jack Bauer, Slippery When Wet, Craphole, Mouthface, and Titty Mitty. And I think it's safe to say that those were tame names, considering what people could have come up with. And the names change to every single performance, and you have to be able to say it in a very serious manner when the plot calls for it, and sometimes you even have to sing it over and over again, like in Cock the Wagon. Not only is this impressive because they have to be able to keep their faces straight during those serious moments, but also they learn that name that evening and they have to put it into the script. It's all so incredibly impressive. The last thing I want to touch upon is how I appreciate when the actors are able to do some actual serious moments. Obviously, the characters are taking everything very seriously, hence the comedy, but it makes those actual serious moments all the more impactful. One minute there's a song and dance about dysentery, the next their wagon is on fire, their daughter's been kidnapped, and Slippery When Wet is taking Craphole away from Jack Bauer because she's going to raise whatever family she has left, and she can't do that with someone who refuses to take responsibility for anything. This musical does a great job of juggling those moments, and it's one of the reasons why it became one of my favorites. In fact, at the time it came out, it was my ultimate favorite, putting it at the very top of the list. So that is it for this musical. Tune in next week where we begin discussing the very next musical, Firebringer. See you then. And also maybe we're a Lord in Black, but again, oh, yeah, fair enough, voice. You are sick.